The first thing you're going to do is plot -1 and 5, which is going to be like right here somewhere, right? If that's a -1 and that's a 5. And then you're going to connect that dot to 0, 0. First thing you're going to do. Then you're going to connect that dot to the x-axis, the closest way possible to get to the x-axis. And you're going to find that you have a triangle, and theta is here, and this is your 90-degree angle. But we know that this side here is going to be 1, this side here is going to be 5. So we have to find the hypotenuse. And 1 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. So 1 plus 25 equals c squared. So the square root of 26 equals c. And we're going to put that right there. Now I don't put my signs until the very end. And if you do it that way, make sure you remember to put your signs. Yeah. So I'm going to just list all of my stuff. Cosine of theta, sine of theta, tangent of theta, and then secant goes with cosine, cosecant goes with sine, and cotangent goes with tangent. And I know that all students take calculus, so I know that in that second quadrant the sine and the cosecant are going to be positive. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of my signs on the negative ones, okay? And then I don't have to think of my sign anymore. So now we got to find everything. So cosine of theta, here's theta right here, is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's going to be 1 over root 26. And I'm not dealing with the sine because the sine's already on that sheet. And so I'm going to do root 26 over root 26. So it's going to be root 20 minus root 26 over 26. Okay? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do secant right now. And it's going to be negative root 26 because I'm going to flip this guy over. And I'm done with my cosine and my secant. Now I do sine. Sine is 5 over root 26. Multiply that by root 26 over root 26. And I get 5 root 26 over 26. But when I flip this guy over, I get my cosecant, which is going to be root 26 over 5. And tangent's the easiest, but a lot of you are putting tangent for cotangent and cotangent for tangent. You're mixing them up when I correct your papers. So tangent is opposite over adjacent. That's negative 5 over 1, which is negative 5. And this other guy is going to be negative 1/5. So I have that big B is 64. I'm going to put that there. And little b is 19.2. And they want me to find little a. So when I look at this, a is the adjacent to b. And b is the opposite of b. So when I look at so, ka, and toa, which one has adjacent and opposite? The tangent. Got it? So now I set it up. Tangent of the angle equals opposite, 19.2, over adjacent. And you have to watch this one because when you cross multiply, you're going to have the a with the tangent. So just let the math take you there. You have a tangent of 64 equals 19.2. So when you're leaving the a alone, you have to divide by tangent of 64. And you should get the answer of 9.4. See if you get that. The first thing, if they tell you find the value, on your instructions it'll probably say use the unit circle to find the value. That'll be your clue. But if I forget, if pi over 4 is on the unit circle, which it is, it's right here at 45 degrees. You have to look for it, but it's there. They want the tangent. Well, you should have written the tangent on your unit circle. So it's 1. It's the number written out past 45 degrees, which should be 1. And I checked all yours, so I think you all have the correct ones. But let's say you forget. Maybe you remember that sine over cosine equals tangent, right? And the sine of 45 is root 2 over 2. And the cosine of 45 is root 2 over 2. So anything over itself is equal to 1. So the answer to this is 1. Now let's say they ask you for the cosecant of 5 pi over 6. Okay? Well, who does cosecant go with? Who does cosecant go with? The sine, right? So what is the sine of 5 pi over 6? Look at your unit circle. It should be right above the 180 degree. So if the sine is the second number in that parentheses, the sine is 1/2, right? So the cosecant is going to be the reciprocal of that, which is 2. So that answers the question. So sometimes they're going to ask you for the cotangent, the cosecant, or the secant. You need to find the cosine, the sine, or the cotangent and flip them. And make sure you get the radical out of the basement. Okay?
So we look for the opposite of those situations. Where'd you get the 1/2?
All right, this is a classic word problem. We've got your building. And there's a very big need in this world to know how far a ladder can go up a building. It's a very common question, okay? So that forms a 90-degree angle. This is 70 degree and 5 minutes. So 70 degree and 5 minutes is this angle right here. And did somebody turn that into a decimal for me? What'd you get? So it's 70.08 degrees is that angle. And then they tell you that the hypotenuse is 30, right? And A says how far up the side of the house does the ladder reach? So they want you to find the opposite side. So they give you the hypotenuse. They want you to find the opposite. This is another SOHCAHTOA. Got it? And we have it, opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So sine of 70.08 equals opposite over hypotenuse. And you just do the math. And you should get that that's 28.2 feet. And you go to 2 places, so. Now the second question asks you to find this guy right here. Because they want to know how far away from the building that the base of the ladder is, right? So now you've got cosine of 70.08 equals adjacent over 30. And you do the math, and you should get 10.2 feet. And the triangle is C, A, and B is right there. Little b, little c, little a. And number 5 says little b is 14. And big A is 16. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mark big A. And they want you to find little c. So they want you to find the hypotenuse, and they give you the adjacent. So I write SOHCAHTOA on my board. And the other one that has opposite and adjacent, adjacent and hypotenuse, is cosine. So we set it up as cosine of the angle equals adjacent, which is 14, over C, which is what they're looking for. And this is going to give you some trouble because you have the C cosine of 16 equals 14, but you have to divide by cosine of 16 in order to find the C. And you should get 14.6 or thereabout. Should be your answer. When it says solve the triangle, they want all of the parts of the triangle. So let's draw the triangle. And this is big C, little c. This is big A, little a, and this is big B, little b. And they give you that little a is 9. And they give you that big B is 49. Well, if I know that big B is 49, and I know that big C is 90, I can get that big A is 41 because they have to add up to 180. So I already have all the angles, okay? And now we need to find big B and little c, and little b and little c. Little a is 9. Okay, so what do you want to find first? Little b?
Little b.
Okay. So I have 49, that's what they gave me, and I have a equals 9. So I have the adjacent, and I want the opposite. So I'm going to use on SOHCAHTOA tangent, right? So we have tangent of 49 equals b over 9. And we cross multiply. We get b equals 9 tangent of 49. And little b should be 10.4. Got it? And how can I find little c? Two ways. I can use SOHCAHTOA, or I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 10.4 squared plus 9 squared equals c squared. Let the math take you there, and you should get that c is equal to 13.7 if it's rounded to one place. If you rounded it to 2, it'll be 60 something or low 70s. Okay? Let's do some radians and degrees. I'll show you how to do this. So if they give it to you in radians, let's say you have 6 pi over 17, which is really ugly, and you don't have it on your unit circle, so you can't look to see what the conversion is. You're going to multiply that by 180 over pi. It's just converting radians to degrees. I'm just making one up. So the pi's are going to bite the dust, and in your calculator, you're going to multiply 6 times 180 and divide it by 17. So 6 times 180 divided by 17, and you get 63.53 degrees. If you're converting degrees to radians, let's say we have 258 degrees. We're going to multiply it by pi over 180. And what we do with this is we just put the number part in our calculator. We put 258 divided by 180, and then hit math, enter, enter. You reduce it on the TI-84, so you get 43 over 30, and then you gunk the pi.